There are signs that the college football season is just around the corner. I'm grateful to say over the last couple of off seasons, one of them specifically for me has been when I have a conversation with today's guest, friend of the show, friend of mine, and I'm grateful to say so. Brett Ciancia of Pick Six Previews, for my money's worth, the best college football preseason magazine. And again, someone I'm grateful to say that SEC Unfiltered has been a small part of helping roll out that product to the college football fan. Brett, what's going on, man? Appreciate you taking the time. It's funny. I was looking back just before we jumped on at years past. I believe this is our fifth straight off season that we've been able to chat on the airwaves, and both of our journeys have been really cool and inspiring and a lot of fun. And again, man, it's a conversation I always look forward to, my friend. Really excited to chat with you today. And congratulations, by the way, on another fantastic product you've put out in your Pick Six Previews magazine.
Yeah, well, thanks, Chris, for having me on, and thanks for the praise for the magazine. Thanks for being a part of it, too. We got SEC Unfiltered here all over the book, and, the partnership grows each year. It's kind of cool that the two companies have pretty much grown up together. I mean, of course, with Spurs up originally, but then now SECU, and, we're individual, businessmen in a way, starting from scratch. So it's been cool to grow together with you guys. You guys are busy, too. I'm talking it's magazine season here. You guys are College World Series, and then the media days, and then you got 15 road trips in the fall. So that's a good busy, though. It's a good busy. So, excited to break down the 2025 edition with you here and cover the SEC.
Yeah, Brett, before we get going, I do want to ask you, because we were talking off the air, you made your first trip to an SEC venue and an SEC game day in an SEC environment last season. So what game was it? I want to get your thoughts on it, how it compared to previous stops for you. And then give me an idea of what I'm in for, because week one, it's pretty well documented at this point. Our audience knows we are headed to Big Ten country for Texas, Ohio State at the Horseshoe. And again, it'll be my first time ever at a Big Ten venue. So would love to hear your experiences, and if you have any advice for an SEC fan headed up to enemy territory.
Absolutely. Well, for some background for the listeners, I'm based in Pennsylvania, so I'm really into that Big Ten corridor, the Big Ten footprint. Really, unfortunately, it's NFL footprint. I mean, it's all pro talk up here where I am, but more in the Big Ten area. I made my first trip down to the SEC last year for Alabama, Georgia, and that was in late September. I mean, at the time, it was two top five teams. You had the two dynasties going at it, and really, what a game it was. The first half was all Alabama. The second half was all Georgia, and almost came back and won the game. And then, of course, the highlight was Ryan Williams' big spin move catch, touchdown to win it. So, but more than just the game, which itself was incredible, the tailgate atmosphere, the frats being across the street from the stadium. And these aren't just frats like you see up in the Northeast. These are frats. They had concerts going on, like stages and music. And, as a Pennsylvanian, I'd never seen anything like it. So, I gained a lot of respect for the SEC after coming down for a weekend, trying to get down to a new venue each year now going forward. But yeah, what a game, what an atmosphere. And people down there, hey, I love college football, and people down there love college football. So it just makes sense. I want to see more of that part of the map. And then to your other part of the question there, coming up north, well, you picked a good time of year. You're going where it's going to be nice and warm. If you had told me a November game, I'd say get ready to bundle up and play some snow football. I've been to plenty of Big Ten snow games. But yeah, I made my first trip to Ohio State last year as well. I was there for Nebraska, Ohio State, a game that they almost lost, actually. Would have altered the whole season. But you got to go see the usual hits. You got to get the Varsity Club, Buckeye Donuts for a dessert there. But yeah, there's plenty of spots to stop by. I really enjoyed it there too. I got to see Script, Ohio on the field and all that. So have a great time, and that's hopefully the first of many for you.
Yeah, looking forward to it, Brett. All right, let's get into it again. Pick Six Previews, your magazine is officially out. Like I mentioned, it is the best in the business, in my opinion. I want to talk specifically your thoughts on the SEC. When you were putting together, doing your research, compiling everything, obviously, again, you've got your particular order of finish. You've got breakdowns in every single team. Brett, simply, was there one overwhelming, overarching storyline for you that you have for the SEC going into the season? I mean, I feel like there's a number of them, from, the SEC's trying to get back to the mountaintop. The Big Ten has won the last two national titles, and that's kind of the argument all offseason, that has the Big Ten overtaken the SEC. But specifically with the SEC, as you dove through each team and, you tried to navigate how this thing is going to play out, was there anything that stuck out to you that you're taking into the season is like, this is the big storyline that I'm following at least early going into kickoff in the conference?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a couple things here. First, on the conference strength debate. Well, when Clemson was winning national titles in the ACC, I never remember anybody saying that because Clemson has a little dynasty going, that the ACC all of a sudden is the best conference. So, yeah, Ohio State and Michigan had great runs, great seasons, but I don't think that all of a sudden makes them a better conference. Every year I do the preview, I'm blown away by the amount of talent that is in the SEC, the amount of 5 stars that are stockpiled down here. You see them win every signing day. You see them win every draft day. So something's happening the 4 years that they're on campus. It's the best teams. It's the best staffs, best coaching schemes. And another thing, too, is that within this transfer era, you're seeing that they're stealing starters and all conference guys off of other teams and other conferences. You can't say the same for the ACC, for example, whose top recruits are a lot of times coming up from FCS or all conference guys from the Sun Belt. The SEC, I mean, you're stealing all Big 10, all Big 12 players. So it just seems like it's the pinnacle of the sport still. Big storyline. I'll give you two real quick. I think on an individual team level, Texas. I think is Texas ready to break into what I call the dynasty tier? You see this. I reference this in the magazine a lot and on Twitter. The dynasty tier to me is really a program that no matter how many guys they send to the pros every year, you know they're reloading with 5-star talent. They're winning national titles. They're winning conference titles. And to me, that tier, the dynasty tier, really is just Bama, Georgia, Ohio State. You could have argued Clemson a couple years back, but I think they're gone. So the big storyline is Texas ready for that tier? I know they've had 2 Final Four appearances in a row, but you got to get that national title to break through. So, and they're close. So that's one individual big storyline is Texas ready for the dynasty tier? And then on a macro level within the SEC, I'm doing all 4 conferences myself, all 68 Power 5 teams. So to me, when I'm breaking down these teams, the SEC landed 10 teams in my top 20. I mean, it is just dominance at the top of this league. I think the Big Ten's got 5 and the Big 12 might have 1 or 2. But the SEC with 10, you can go all the way down to Tennessee and South Carolina, and they're still really, really strong teams, but they're picked in the bottom half of the league.
Brett, you mentioned Texas, and people like to say great minds think alike. I know you and I discussed this a few weeks ago. You and I both have Texas and Alabama in the SEC championship game. I've got Bama 1, Texas 2. You've got Texas 1, Bama 2. But again, pretty close. I just want to get your thoughts on, again, you've got Texas number 1, Alabama number 2, those two squaring off. What led you to, what separated those two is why you went Texas number 1, Alabama number 2, facing off in Atlanta?
Yeah, well, I think that Texas might be somewhat of a consensus to at least make it to Atlanta amongst all the publications and all the experts like you and me and everybody, whether it's 1 or 2. I think everyone's got Texas in the building. But for that second spot, I think you're going to see a lot of people pick Georgia. And I'm going against the grain with you with Alabama. Things I like with Alabama, last year was a transition year. I mean, you're picking up for a legend, Nick Saban. Of course, it's going to be a tough transition, but I like a lot of moves they made. Let's start at offensive coordinator. DeBoer hired Ryan Grubb. This is his right-hand man over all kinds of stops that he succeeded at, including Washington, where they made the national title 2 years ago. So you really bring the brains of the operation in to run that offense. I think that's great. He's got his pick of 3 great quarterbacks now. And I like Jalen Milroe. He was hot and cold, but really an athlete, a really good athlete running the ball. I think you want to see in DeBoer and Grubb's offense a pure passer. I mean, think of Michael Penix. So he's got 3 guys to choose from. The last bit with Alabama is normally you watch the NFL draft, you're seeing 10, 12 guys get picked from Alabama. It's like a conveyor belt of Bama players. This year, only 5. And what happened there is that they're all coming back to Tuscaloosa. They're all back in college for a final year. A lot of them are on defense, a lot in that front 7. It's loaded again. And this year in the preview magazine, in addition to transfer rankings and recruiting rankings, I added a little section there for mock NFL draft picks. I know we're a little early to do mock NFL drafts, but it's still a good indicator. Alabama is up there number 1 in the country with 15 draft picks projected right now. So a lot of pro talent is stockpiled at Alabama. I think they're going to make a playoff run and be in Atlanta.
Speaking on the top 4, Brett, because you mentioned Georgia, and I think LSU is another team that I think folks could see making a run at minimum to Atlanta, potentially winning it, but at least getting the SEC title. It feels like to me, Brett, there's a little bit after those top 4 of Texas, Bama, Georgia, LSU, in whatever order you put them in. there's a bit of a gap between 4 and 5. Do you feel that same way as well? And how surprised would you be, if at all, if someone outside of those top 4 made it to the SEC championship game?
Well, there's two examples I really like, but they're dealt they lost the schedule lottery this year, if you will, and that's Florida and Oklahoma. I really like these teams. I think they're both improving. They're both veteran, now in their third years with their head coaches, with Brent Venables and Billy Napier, and they've really addressed the weaknesses within their program. I think first with Oklahoma, their offense fell apart last year. They fired the coordinator midseason, but he goes out and gets Ben Arbuckle, really a young up and coming guy with a really innovative scheme, brings the quarterback with him, John Mateer. If you ever watch this guy play, he reminds me of Baker Mayfield. I know it's Oklahoma and he's got the headband and the towel, but just playing style, I think he's going to put up a ton of yards and stats. So I like Oklahoma a lot. Florida's veteran, and it's crazy how different a few months makes. I mean, they're ready to run him out of town, but they win their last 4, and then they sign our top recruiting class. And then they had 4 linemen, 2 on offense, 2 on defense, that could have gone pro, but their NIL collective got them to stay. So you have some of the best lines of scrimmage in the conference in Florida now. So all that to say, they draw the biggest gauntlets of the country. I mean, I'm looking at it right now, my schedule grid. Florida has 7 of the top 10 in the SEC. That's just incredible. Oklahoma, I think, depending on what you think of Missouri and South Carolina, you could argue all 8 of their conference teams could be ranked at some point. So just brutal schedules. It would be a shock for me to see anybody outside that top 4 to make it, just because of the schedule. A&M you'd consider, and I know some listeners might laugh when you hear that, but I say it every time. This year's different with A&M, but I think it actually might be different because I really trust Mike Elko, and it's a really veteran team. They got their running back, and offensive line is solid, so a lot to like from A&M as well. But I think you have a solid top 3 with Texas, Bama, Georgia. A little drop off, then LSU, and then another drop off to this next tier.
Brett, I want to go back to that point because you mentioned LSU and they're in your 4 spot. They're in my 4 spot as well. But they, to me, seem like the biggest wild card of the top 4. This was a team last year that, things kind of fell apart. The turnovers with Garrett Nussmeier, they couldn't run the football. They were better defensively under Blake Baker, obviously, but there was nowhere to go but up after the 2023 season. But they're a team that I feel like is very volatile in that top 4. There's a number of different results that could occur. I mean, we had Brian Kelly at SEC Media tell us he's expecting a year 2 jump like Jaden Daniels had. I mean, that guy won the Heisman, Brett. That's putting some big time expectations. But you go look at what they did in the portal, both offensively, defensively. Like, they are pushed all of their chips to the center of the table. Obviously, things will get going really quickly for them when they go to Clemson in week 1, which Brian Kelly apparently is called Death Valley Jr. That's a whole other storyline for that game. But just thoughts on LSU, what you like about them, what concerns you about them, because, they're a team that, I think if Garrett Nussmeier has made that jump that Brian Kelly is all of a sudden putting those expectations on him, LSU could very well be a team that's sitting at 11-1, making noise right there in Atlanta and being a college football playoff team.
Yeah, well, I think that this is a big pressure season for Brian Kelly. It's he's got all the investment, all the resources in the world there. He's got a great location. I always talk location with recruiting, but per capita, Louisiana is stockpiled with great recruits, and they do a good job keeping them in state. So he's got one of the best rosters in the country. Top 5 recruiter on average, number 1 signing class from the transfer portal this year. We know how expensive the NIL market is with that. So a ton of help coming from the portal. And then also they had the highest paid coordinator ever in college football history, Blake Baker, last year. Now he's back for his second year. I trust Baker a lot as a coordinator. I think you're going to see a much improved defense. They get Harold Perkins back. He was a star a couple years ago before his injury, and really a do-it-all linebacker guy. You can put him all over the field. So I like it. I think the big variable is their defense. How big a gain can they make? It was below average last year. If they get a top 25 defense to pair with that offense, you got a playoff team. And that's kind of what I'm banking on, because I do have them grabbing my last playoff spot in the bracket as an at-large. I think the SEC gets 4 most years, and I think another year this year they'll get 4 teams in, with LSU being the 4th. But, the big question is how quickly can this new defense, the whole secondary is new. It's a lot of proven guys from other conferences, but how quickly does it get up to speed for the SEC? How big is that second-year bonus from Baker? And can Nussmeier live up to Heisman standards? He was great at times last year. He really single-handedly won them that Ole Miss game. If you remember that, it was like a Houdini act to pull that win out, but incredible performance. So yeah, a lot to like from LSU. I see them making a playoff run.
Brett, I want to talk quarterbacks because, as I mentioned earlier in the show, and I asked you about storylines, for me, Brett, selfishly, and it's always the low-hanging fruit. We love to talk the quarterback position, but specifically this year, I think, Brett, what's so fascinating is so many of these contenders, and LSU doesn't fall in this category, obviously, we were just discussing, but so many of these contenders are depending on new signal callers, whether they're brand new or they're guys that are QB1 for the first time. I mean, you've got Arch Manning at Texas, Ty Simpson at Alabama, Gunnar Stockton at Georgia, John Mateer at Oklahoma, Austin Simmons at Ole Miss. You know, Jackson Arnold has played in this league, but he goes over from Oklahoma to Auburn. Joey Aguilar at Tennessee, Bo Prabula at Mizzou. I could just continue. Just thoughts on the new signal callers in the league. I mean, I feel like Arch Manning would be the obvious answer if I ask you, like, who are you highest on? But just your overall thoughts on the lay of the land when it comes to so many new quarterbacks and what that might mean for the conference this year.
Yeah, well, there really are a ton of new faces, not only transfers, but guys that played a little bit last year. I mean, Arch Manning, he got a handful of games and snaps, and even DJ Lagway at Florida, I think he started about half the season. The plus minus with Lagway on the field, I put this in the book. Without him at quarterback last year, Florida was a bottom 10 offense per my numbers. With him, they were top 10. So I think you're in for a great season offensively, a second year for him as the full-time starter. So I really like Lagway to be a roulette chip, to be one of the conference's best players. Mateer, we talked about. How does that translate from Washington State over to the SEC? I think he'll be great. But yeah, other programs too. Ole Miss with Simmons taking over for Jackson Dart. That's a transition. Gunnar Stockton at Georgia. We saw him for a game and a half, but that was against elite defenses. I think he's going to look better this year. Alabama's got a three-man race. It looks like Simpson, but you got three guys there. Another guy, Marcel Reed, not being talked about much. He's a dual threat at Texas A&M. Remember, he came in against LSU, gave them fits last year. So, yeah, it's really a transitional year. And I remember, I think it was you put out a list of your quarterback rankings, and you had Aguilar 16th. I agree with you, my man. I got them 16th in the position ratings. It's a real big question mark for me with him because at App State, yeah, he threw a lot of touchdowns. He also threw a ton of picks. So I see a little bit of boom and bust. Also, he didn't have any spring ball in Knoxville. He's starting just now with a rebuilt offensive line, 3 new receivers, Dylan Sampson. They're all SEC running backs gone. Just too many question marks on offense for me there. I know I kind of rambled a little bit, but goes to show you all these great programs have new starting quarterbacks this year.
One that I mentioned, Brett, I want to talk about this team specifically because they may be the biggest boom or bust team in the conference this year, that being the Auburn Tigers. I want to get your thoughts on Auburn. You know, we talked about Brian Kelly and the pressure he's facing, but it's a pressure-packed year for Hugh Freeze. I mean, they've got a really tricky opener that if they lose, things go sideways in a hurry when they face Baylor at their place on that Friday night to open the season. But again, it's an Auburn team that, you know, you look at the talent. I said this at Media Days, Brett, you can easily fall in love with this roster if you look at it long enough from what they've added, you know, via the transfer portal, the potential, that's a scary word, but potential of a Jackson Arnold, DJ Durkins' defense. I mean, the defense was really, really good last year and gave them chances to win games, won a couple of games for them. If they can get it going offensively, and again, you add an Eric Singleton at wide receiver to complement Cam Coleman. Thoughts on Auburn? And also, too, Brett, I didn't mention, they've got one of the most workable schedules in the SEC to where I could argue, Brett, if they're not in the college football playoff conversation, not making it, but if we're not talking about them in the conversation at the beginning of November, I think they've fallen short of expectations down there on the plains. Just your thoughts on Auburn. Are they as much boom or bust as I'm making them out to be? Again, you've got them right in the middle, which, again, I think is a good spot because it's really hard to pinpoint which direction they're going to go.
Yeah, well, part of what I do, it's really a 7-month process from January to July. And I really try and hide from the other way too early lists and other publications, not out of arrogance. I just want to come at it with an original thought. And then, of course, here in July and August, I catch up and see what everybody else had. But I came at it from my own research, and I came in really high on Auburn. I've got them 20th in the country. I don't think you'll find anybody else with them in the top 25 or top 20 like that. Because first what I like to do is look back. Look at last year, how many close losses there were. And you can't do the what if game, but really, I mean, in my advanced numbers, my per play stats, they were top 20 in a lot of categories nationally. So, they lost 5 turnovers to Cal. They lost 5 turnovers to Arkansas. Worst field goal kicking in the country. Even make a couple kicks, they probably flip that to a winning record. So I think they were better than their record showed last year. The receiver core could be one of the best in the country. You hit on that. And a lot of young defenders last year made the all-true freshman team. Now they're moving into their second years. So, yeah, I like Auburn up here. And I say up here as if, tied in 8th is up here, but 20th in the country. So that's a pretty big testament there. Schedule, I like that they draw Mississippi State. Let me pull it up real quick. Yeah, it's 3 at the bottom, not Mississippi State. It's Arkansas, Kentucky, Vandy. That should be 3-0. Missouri, I have them winning that game as well to get to 4-0. And then, a couple toss-ups. Let's see how they look against Oklahoma and A&M. But, I'm higher than most on Auburn. I think you'll find that most have them around 10th or 11th. But I'm buying it here in 2025.
Brett, I want to talk about a team that I find fascinating just from the standpoint of differing on opinions, not between you and I, but you and I and the SEC media and a lot of folks just in the college football community. I picked South Carolina in my predicted order of finish to finish 8th. You picked them to finish 11th. The media picked them to finish 5th. And there was a lot of chatter at media days about, them potentially being a dark horse for the college football playoff. And I think Lenoris Sellers is a fantastic player. And I think Shane Beamer is a good coach. But I want to get your thoughts and see if you agree with me. When I look at them, the loss of Rocket Sanders on offense, I think is not being talked about enough, especially if they don't get Rasul Faison's eligibility figured out. And then defensively, maybe even more so. I mean, you lost virtually everyone out of your front 7 besides Dylan Stewart. You lost Nicky Manwari on the back end of your defense. It's hard for me to imagine South Carolina being able to reload and replace all that. And the schedule is daunting once again. Just your thoughts on the Gamecocks. I mean, again, media picked them to finish 5th and had Lenoris Sellers first team all quarterback. You've got them at 11th. What do you think the differing of opinions was between you and the media folks in the SEC?
Yeah, well, every year you got a couple of these teams that we all differ on. And last year, the hot team coming in was Missouri. And I think I had them 8th or something in the conference. Of course, what ended up happening was that big logjam of teams that were 5-3, that big super tie in the middle of the pack. So I don't know who really won that debate, but I think a lot of people had Missouri as a fringe playoff team, and I was selling it heavy. And it's kind of the same outlook because they both had great seasons the year prior. And they both brought back a decent amount of players. Their star quarterbacks were back in this case with Sellers. I think Sellers is phenomenal. So this is not a knock on him. I think he's a really great athlete. I caught on to him later in the season, but he looked really good. Dual threat guy, and he's got a coach now with Mike Shula, who I think he coached with Cam Newton in the pros. So I'm not trying to make the easy Cam Newton comparison as a dual threat, but just to say he has some good quarterback coaching experience. So I like that move, but. Yeah, you kind of made my case for me. I mean, you lose Sanders, you lose all 4 interior defensive linemen. The 2 secondary guys are gone. All 3 linebackers are gone. So really outside of Dylan Stewart, it's a lot of rebuilding on defense. And Clayton White does a great job. I think that he'll be okay, but okay is not going to cut it in the SEC. And the last bit on this is the schedule. You hit on this too, but it depends on how you view some of these middle tier teams. Oklahoma, A&M. I'm really high on both of those. So I think that South Carolina would be underdogs and lose both of them. So that puts you down to at least 4-4 or even 3-5 in the conference. So if you really go game by game, I don't see how you get South Carolina up to 5th place. I mean, that would impute a 6-2. That's asking a lot of these other ranked games. So I have them going 3-5 in the conference, and that would put them down at 11th.
Brett, I want to take a look. Let's zoom out a little bit and look at the college football playoff, your projected college football playoff. And from the national perspective, of course, like you mentioned, you got 4 SEC teams in the playoff. You've got Texas as the automatic bid from the SEC. Again, great minds think alike. You and I both have the Longhorns hoisting the trophy in Atlanta. You and I both have the same playoff in regards to the SEC, Brett, with LSU, Georgia, and Alabama joining the Horns. I want to just walk me through this. I mean, again, I'll just run through really quickly. You've got Texas, LSU, Oregon, Arizona State, Notre Dame, Ohio State on one side of the bracket, Penn State, Miami, Georgia, Boise State, Alabama, Clemson on the other side. And again, for those listening or tuned in, if you want to get a look at this, number one, it's probably pretty publicized on social media at this point. Number two, go buy the magazine. You can check all this out. But walk me through, Brett, if you can. How did you get to your college football playoff, the 12 that you selected? What did it come down to? Why were those the choices? And I'll put you on the spot. If you do have a national champion at this point, if you don't, it's okay. But I'm sure you've played around with this and done some thinking on your own. Out of this playoff, who would you have coming out on top? And who's your favorite, at least, to go win the national championship?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a whole different game, a whole new world with this 12-team bracket. So the way I came at it was, first off, you got to pick your conference champions. So I do my normal research and write the preview that way. And the 4 conference champions I rounded out with, I have Penn State winning the Big Ten. We talked about Texas winning the SEC. I got Clemson winning the ACC, and then Arizona State out of a wild Big 12. That's its own discussion. You could do an hour on that conference. It's crazy at the top. But those are the 4 league champions I had. From there, I think the SEC most years is going to get 4 teams in there. So I just went with my next 3 SEC to go with Bama, Georgia, LSU. And then from there, I looked at some at-larges. The Big Ten, I think, will get 3 teams. So you got Penn State and then 2 really strong but young teams with Ohio State and Oregon. Notre Dame, I think, earns a spot. They're probably going to go 10-2 or 11-1, and they're complete enough of a team. I think they get an at-large spot. That leaves 1 spot left if you were counting along. Granted, I think the non-AQ champ is Boise. They're the prohibitive favorites. So that would leave you 1 spot left. And that came down to ACC runner-up Miami, a 5th SEC. You could go A&M or Florida or Oklahoma. Who else we got? Big 12 would be like Texas Tech or Baylor or TCU. So I ultimately went with Miami. I think that it's a really strong team in terms of high school recruiting, transfers, and really an easy conference. I think once you go a couple teams out of the top 3 or 4 in that league, it really drops off. So I see Miami getting a ton of wins this year, 10-2 probably, to make an at-large spot. So that's how I got to 12. It's interesting though. The next 3 teams in on my bubble list, my top 25, they're all SEC. You got A&M, Florida, and Oklahoma right there at 12, 13, 14, 15. So yeah, that's how I came at it. And for a national champion pick, I'm going to go with Penn State. And, I know James Franklin has had trouble in big games, but I'm based here in Pennsylvania. I hear it from these fans all year round how close they are. And it's true. If you watch them play Ohio State, they're always competitive. They're always there into the 4th quarter. A lot of times they're actually blowing leads late in the game. So I think they're close. But what separates them is how veteran they are. In January, you see who goes pro and who returns. Aside from Abdul Carter, they got really everybody back. The running backs are elite. The offensive line has 4 Big Ten guys. Defense is elite. But my last thing on Penn State is 2 of the best coordinators in the country. I think they have the brains this year to do it, with Kotelnicki calling the offense and Jim Knowles, the coordinator that turned Ohio State into a national champion, being plucked over to Penn State. So I'm going Penn State number 1 to enter the year, and that would be my national champ pick. Here we are in July.
Brett Ciancia, Pick 6 Previews, founder of Pick 6 Previews, the number 1 most accurate rated preseason magazine in the country. Brett, it's always a pleasure to chat with you, my friend. Before we get out of here, let folks know how they can get their hands on the magazine, whether it be a digital copy or a physical copy. And I'll also set you up, man, to talk about your newest feature, the Pick 6 Plus. Looks like you're going to be doing some weekly stuff throughout the season, even more content from you, even more value to the college football fans. So tell folks where they can get the magazine, about the new stuff you're doing in 2025.
Yeah, thanks a ton, and thanks for having me. We'll have to catch up mid-season, see how these predictions ended up. But the magazine we have only available on pick6previews.com, or you can find us on Twitter at pick6previews. And like Chris said, we have the digital copy available. We also have the hard copy magazines. We're shipping them out. Did another truckload today, hoping to get more tomorrow out. So you have that option as well. And then for in-season, new this year, it's called Pick 6 Plus. And what it is, it's all the stats and information that you like from the magazine, but now in a weekly format, refreshed every week, sent to your inbox every Tuesday morning. And it's a little bit deeper than the preview magazine because we add a little bit more, against the spread information, ATS and Vegas stuff, situational splits. How's a team coming off a bye? How's a team as a home favorite? And you can look back the last 3 years, the last year, obviously. And what's cool is it activates. It'll show you which spreads or which splits are active that week. So you can just quickly see that, okay, Michigan is a home underdog. How are they the last 3 years? So all kinds of stuff on there. You can check out the sample pick6previews.com/plus. You'll see links on there. And we got a sample PDF you can check out. And yeah, encourage you to check that out.
Once again, Brett, thank you for taking the time. For those of you watching right now, you can see I have in my hand, those listening, the physical copy of Pick Six Previews. I've been getting one of these the last couple of years, every single year. And like I mentioned, Brett, thank you so much for allowing us to be a small part of a fantastic project on a yearly basis. And guys, again, I cannot recommend this magazine more. Truly feels like a college football magazine made by a college football fan for all college football fans. Brett, once again, congratulations on your success. Well-deserved. Appreciate your friendship and look forward to doing it again soon.
Yeah, thanks a ton, and good luck with the road trips this fall. Maybe we'll bump into each other on the road.
Let's do it.